The Department of Home Affairs will recruit 10,000 unemployed youth graduates to digitise civic records. Now, the process of digitising 350 million of these records is expected to run for the next 3 years. The Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Motsoaledi, joining us now to tell us more about this important campaign. Minister, good morning to you, and thank you very much for your time. You did hold a media briefing around this last week, and I guess as a reminder to the viewers as to why it is important for government to digitize these 350 million records. Is that going to in any way speed up the work of the Home Affairs officials when one visits your offices?
Good morning, Toli. Good morning to the viewers and the listeners. Indeed, we did hold a press conference to announce this digitization of records by employing 10,000 unemployed youth in the field of IT, in the field of documentation, and in the field of document management for the next 3 years. Yes, Toli, it's important for these records to be digitized. These are records of birth, IDs, passports, marriage, and death. That stretches back from 1895. Home Affairs offices need them every day, Toli. When people go to apply for unabridged birth certificates, when they go to apply for unabridged marriage certificate, and even when they go to do amendments, quite a number of people would like to amend the manner in which their surnames are spelled or their names are arranged. Some want to change their birth dates, which they've discovered are wrong. And when you change a birth date, you change your ID. Now, for all those things to happen, officials need to go to the records. You can't just arrive, Toli, and say, no, I'm changing now. I'm no longer Toli Mgambi. This is what I am. I'm changing the X to AG, etc. We would like to go and see the original records so that when we change, we know what we are changing from. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we'll make terrible mistakes, and there will be thugs that will take advantage of the situation. Because indeed, there are people who want to change their details, their civic details, their biographies, simply because they are running away from a particular crime which has been committed under a particular name. So we want to be sure, then we have got to go to our records. But now only because these records are manual, paper-based, it takes a very long time for officials to go and search them and find them. And they are scattered not in one building, in lots of buildings all over Tshwane. I am afraid I can't mention where they are because I don't want us to know where our records are kept. So they are scattered all over. Sometimes people have to take a van to drive where the records are and start searching. Now you can imagine if these records are on the fingerprints, on our fingerprints, when you arrive in a Home Affairs official, they just, use their fingers and everything is there. They just tap on the computer, everything is there. And they serve you, you go back home, you will also be satisfied because you will have been served on time. At the moment, people have to come back many times. They go to Home Affairs, announce what they want, and they are told to come back because officials are still going to search for the records, and they are giving a particular date to come back. On that day, the records were not found. They are asked to come back again. So the same person go to Home Affairs offices many times to look for one and the same thing. Whereas if they are digitized, you'll be served that particular day and go home with everything you want.
Minister, there were intimations, in fact, there were reports last week, just as you made this announcement around digitizing these records, that a certain company was unhappy with the recruitment process, or they may have been overlooked. What is happening regarding that process? Because that could hinder the process of the first 2,000 recruits.
I'm not aware because, as you know, we have not yet started recruiting, but we have issued the advert for the first 2,000 on Friday. And the recruitment that the way it has been planned, who must do what, has been arranged with the President's Office on Youth Employment Strategy, employment stimulus. It has also been arranged with the Department of Labour. There have been numerous meetings. So remember, we planned this from last year. When it was ready, the President went to announce it in February in the State of the Nation address. And since that time, there have been meetings to arrange for this. If there's anybody who's not satisfied, I haven't heard about it. We'll see how to handle that.
All right. Then there is the element of rooting out corruption within your department, Minister. And the transit visas is something that you have been talking about last week. And this is going to be specific to certain countries, namely Pakistan and Bangladesh. Tell us why these transit visas are important to establish or get into the system.
Well, transit visas have been there, and they are there in many countries. When you transit through another country to go and visit a different country altogether, some countries levy a transit visa. You are going to pass through our facilities, through our airports or seaports or whatever. They ask for a transit visa. Home Affairs removed these transit visas. The eve of National Youth Day, I was called to the airport late at night because some people were arrested from Pakistan and Bangladesh who were in transit to our neighboring countries. But when they were moving on to the transit launch, they detour on the way and somebody is directing them with a phone. They run amok all over the airport and until they found passages where fire hydrants are passing and there are ropes hanging those passages. They get into the ceiling, move into the ceiling of the airport and find a way to come into South Africa illegally. The very following day, we called a meeting of law enforcement agencies in the country, and we also included the Department of Transport. We included AXA. We went step by step through this, and we heard that it looks like this practice is quite common from inhabitants of the particular countries that we have mentioned, and a decision was taken by the law enforcement agencies, the Department of Transport and AXA, that the best way to deal with this is to levy transit visas for nationalities from those countries. We then wrote to DECO to inform the authorities in those countries that will now ask for transit visas.
Let's talk about the Zimbabwe permit, Minister Motsoaledi. And this is a process that is ongoing, as I understand it. In December, that is the deadline for Zimbabweans to essentially make sure that they are in South Africa, at least the ones that would have come into the country using that particular permit. They are in the country legally. The understanding is that your department has decided to recruit lawyers to fast-track this process. Explain that to us, the importance, why you wanted to do that, to recruit these lawyers in order to assist the department.
Well, we recruit them because when people apply, the lawyers will have to look at the laws of the country. They've got to look at laws like PAJA, they've got to look at the constitution of the country. They've got to look at international conventions. So there are lots of things which want highly trained people. That's number one. Number two, the Department of Home Affairs will not have such a large number of legally trained people. Yes, we do have a legal unit, but this needs lots of people. And that's why we recruited them, knowing very well that they've got such skills.
All right, Minister. Then the understanding is that there are some 200,000 Zimbabweans that are in the country and would have come in using this particular permit. So what does this mean for those people? Many of them, I suspect they would have established very solid lives in South Africa. and they may be very apprehensive about being uprooted to go and start a new life back home?
Only there are much more Zimbabweans than the number you have mentioned. There are many Zimbabweans in South Africa.
Are you able to give us a round figure?
Legally. Sorry?
Are you able to give us a round figure?
No, I'm not able to do so now. But I'm sure you can find out, except those who are illegal. Obviously, we won't know. Zimbabweans who are in South Africa on study permits, we have got numbers. Those who are here in South Africa on critical skills visa, we have got numbers. Those who are here on on relatives visa, we have got numbers. Those who are here on general work visa, in fact, I only have their percentages compared to the rest of the world. For instance, Zimbabweans who are in South Africa on critical skills list constitute 38% of the total number of critical skills lists issued for people from any part of the world to come and do critical skills in South Africa. Those who are on study visas, which were issued, is 25% of the total. Those who are on relatives visa is 14%, and those who are on general work visa is 15%. And of course, there are many who are on other visas which I have not mentioned, like permanent residents, etc. The one you are talking about, Oli, is only 478,000 people who were given this special permit. And it has been renewed, and the last time it was renewed in 2017. Even when it was renewed, it was supposed to stay for 5 years. There's never been an intention that it will stay more than that. Anybody who signed for it knew that I'm being given a permission to do whatever I'm doing for the next 5 years.
Sure. And the illegal Zimbabweans? How do you plan to deal with those, the ones that are here illegally?
Well, not only Zimbabweans, Toli, talk about illegal people. I'm sure you are aware that visiting another country illegally is not really something that countries around the world expect or accept. And so we have got a mechanism through a law of parliament. Lindela Repatriation Center was established, and there are laws there that if law enforcement agencies or police come across somebody who's illegal, not a Zimbabwean, any human being from any part of the world who came here illegally, if they arrest them, they must present them in front of a magistrate within 48 hours and say, this person is here illegally, we want to deport them back to their country. If the magistrate agree, then they are sent to Lindela Repatriation Center, where in terms of the law, the ambassador from that country must be called in to come and engage with the person, and then there are arrangements to deport them back home. There are other people who want to go back home voluntarily, who said, I came here illegally, I'm now wishing to go back home, please help me. In that case, the laws implemented are together with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, together with the International Office on Migration, who will help on that voluntary deportation. So these are regulated, they don't happen at random.
Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi is Minister of Home Affairs. Thank you very much for your time.